Let's head back outside on our patio here and rejoin Sherry.
Well, welcome back to the patio. Did you hear me say that it's going to be about 80 degrees this afternoon? If that doesn't make you want to get in the garden, I don't know what will. I actually spoke with Peter Mezitt from Weston Nurseries, and he gave me a couple ideas about azaleas and how to do them right in the garden. Here's what he had to say. The cool thing is at the garden center here, we're actually starting to see a lot of things pop, a lot of color coming into bloom. And Peter, one of the first things that caught my eye, these guys, because it just looks like an explosion of color, explosion of flowers. So what kind of flowers are we talking about? What kind of plants are these?
These are azaleas. They're evergreen azaleas, meaning they keep their leaves year-round. They flower in late April, mostly in May around here. All different colors, just like the rhododendrons. These are a form of rhododendron, actually. Azaleas bloom for 2 weeks.
They're just so full.
They're very full. The evergreen azaleas are really full. They bloom on top before the new growth really starts. So you see all the flowers on top, and of course they come in every single imaginable
I was
color.
going to say, I mean, is this a good representation of the kinds of colors that we're facing?
It is, actually. There's a lot of pinks, so I pulled some pinks in to show, and there's lavenders, reds, whites, all very common.
I have a couple girls at home that would call this bubblegum pink and would probably screech over this color. It's
I like
gorgeous.
that. I call it kind of a salmony pink, but that's one of my favorite. That's called blouse pink.
All right, so special care. What do we need to know about these? They like the acidic soil. Do they like the shade like the rhododendrons do?
They prefer a little more sun. The evergreen azaleas like a little more sun. They love acidic soil, so they do very well in New England because of that. You can add peat moss if you're worried about acidity. They like well-drained soils. They stay small, like I say, generally 3-4 feet, so you can put them in front of windows in front of your house.
And you're trimming them when? Because they'll be in bloom for, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, everything blooms for about 2 weeks, and you don't really need to trim these that much. They keep this slow-growing mound shape. Some people like to keep them exactly moundy.
FYI, Peter is not a fan of that. He likes them when they're a little bit looser.
I like them a little loose myself. But yeah, you don't need to prune them that much.
Okay, so what's the difference between, say, these guys over here and something like that? Because you were saying these are evergreen versus...
deciduous. So these are deciduous azaleas, which bloom later on. Deciduous azaleas could start in May, like this one does. This orange one blooms very early, but most of them, like this Lollipop Azalea, doesn't bloom until June. And when it does bloom, it blooms after new growth, so all the blooms are kind of hidden a little bit down in under the new growth that you see covering it a little bit. But it's still a profuse bloomer. It blooms all over the place, and actually they're fragrant versus the evergreen azaleas are not fragrant.
Ooh, a little bit of odor that you can add. Oh, good odor, good odor.
Yeah.
Now, anything we need to know about animals that will be attracted to these, protecting them from certain animals that might try and eat away at the
deer will eat the buds. Not as much as they would choose to eat other things, but you got to watch out for that. The other thing is with deciduous azaleas, they'll take a little bit of shade so they can be further away from your house. They get a little taller, so the deer tend to go in those areas too. So keep an eye out for deer. But again, in the shade a little bit versus those full sun, they love it. They look really good when you have a nice backdrop behind them. They kind of grow out a little less round ball shape. They go out a little more
freer.
Freer.
For
deciduous.
And I got to admit that I love how you're just clumping all these colors together as well. This is something that I'm seeing that you tend to do here at Weston Nurseries. You recommend sometimes that you put them together and you mix and match a little bit, and they really do look quite beautiful that way.
I love mixing them up. Some people like it really symmetrical. Picture the front of the house, the same color on both sides of the steps. I like to mix it up because they actually grow into each other. And the bloom times aren't exactly the same, so you get a longer bloom period that way too.
Longer color in your garden. As always, Peter, it was great to see you today, and it looks gorgeous here. So you too, you got to come down because this is what you're facing, tons of color. And again, I would not have thought to put all those different colors together, but they look so good, and there were just so many different colors to pick from that. If it's sparking your interest, you know where to go, Weston Nurseries in Hopkinton. Peter's the guy that's going to help you out with that.